Welcome to another Design League playthrough, and this one is by mctrees, who I know is part of the rookie contest this year. I know he's really into his golf architecture, and I can't remember if he's had any other publishers after Revival Club. It looks like we're going with Boreal, so you can tell by the burnt out texture and how that works. We've got a creek, we've got all sorts of interesting stuff going on. There's some really cool planting, and you can see how he's used that natural texture. So base texture, when you sink some trees down, scars and goes different colour. Different themes do different things. In Boreal it goes this kind of sometimes green, sometimes brown, depending on how much you do it, and also kind of depends on where the sun is as well. So we'll look at that and how that's been used. You can see it's, I think in the 800 by 350, I mean, looks like it's comfortably inside that. And there's some extras as well, which we won't go too close to. So yeah, let's give this a play and see how it goes. Alright, we're starting off with a blind tee shot to a... Okay, so we can go up this way, we can go over here. I have some issues with this. I think I like the idea, it feels a little forced. I think this is one of those ideas that could work really, really nicely, but the sculpting is just a little harsh in terms of how the land is moving around here. And the running towards the bunker you can't see. Like, I love the idea in principle of you can hit this fairway and possibly roll on, I would imagine. It's just going to be one of those ideas that I like the idea, but I think the sculpting just isn't quite matching the level of the idea to make it really work seamlessly. We then can't really hit driver down here, so we have to hit 3-wood, but it's up 26, and that's all the options we've got. And the major thing you're missing with this is, like, what is the safe play off this tee? Because if I don't want to hit driver, I'm back to 3-wood, and I've got the longest 3-wood that you can have. So there's going to be people with shorter clubs than this that can't reach this and are forced to take on this drive. And I don't think you really want that. I feel there must be a safer play in there. Planting wise, I like what you've done. This planting's great. I think the hole could use a little bit more space to breathe. I'm just checking I'm not missing something. No. I mean, I think you just need to provide a bit more of a safe play, and these trees really make the left hand side is not very safe the more you're laying back up. Because of this tree you'd have to work around, so I think you have to offer more of a safe play this side. But as you can see, the two fairways are very disconnected. It's almost like there's two different holes and you're cutting a corner. It's really hard to do split fairways and actually have them feel like they, I wouldn't say make sense, but feel like they're cohesive. As is, I think going down this side, I do like that you've given this the two, these two dead trees as aiming points. That works nicely. I presume that's our line for, I mean, potentially bunker, but so yeah, even hitting a slow, I mean, I'm barely carrying it to this fairway. I think it's very playable, and like, it's definitely an interesting hole. Just think it could be tied together a little bit more neatly. That said, we have lob wedge in. Yeah, this bunker as well. I think it's tough because you want to highlight which is your high side of this bunker, and it's usually high side is below the green, so it would be dropping down, which means that this bit would have to be low. I think you'd make life a lot easier for yourself if this land was dropped by about 5 feet, because that would expose this bunker. You could raise up this bit, it would, but as is, it's falling in on itself a little bit. What else do we see? I like the land movement, it's interesting, it's just, yeah. Sculpting could be a touch smoother. Planting looks great, really like what you've done. These bushes merge, like work together really nicely, kind of some little heathland vibes. Okay. I mean, green itself feels to me like it rewards you hitting onto this fairway, which feels easier to hit than this one. Like the angle of the green definitely rewards you going this way, but the slopes, everything's going towards the back, so I'm struggling to see a pin from which I think that this side is preferential angle. Don't really see any. Maybe like if you've tucked one here, but that's even then that's dicey. I mean that's a minor thing. I think I'd have probably angled the fairway, the green the other way, not angled, sloped it a little bit differently. Grasses are a really nice touch. I like the way you've used multiple grasses. That always works really well. You've blended those very nicely. I think the other thing I'd try to do is these bushes. Yeah, this is something you'll learn a bit more, I guess, with practice. Trying to sink them down a little bit more and then like blend them together so it looks more like one bush rather than, or like one section of bushes rather than you can see the individual ones because of how the shapes work. And that's generally making them a bit bigger than you think, sinking them a bit more than you think, and actually just using fewer of them, and almost not really rotating them as much when you're placing them. Interesting first hole though. I like this second, so we've got some OB this side and then a heart and reverse camber. I think this one might work a little better if we hadn't pinched driver so much on the first, because I love a par 5 where you're making driver difficult and you're kind of giving the player real risk reward. The OB there, yeah, okay, you've done that well. That's neatly done. Tee box isn't flat, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, I didn't think that would hold on. Let's look at it again. I think here you've given us more of a safe play. I might like to see this fairway a touch wider at 3-wood distance, but personal preference. I think sculpting again, like on the bunkers, you want to really enunciate your high side. So dropping this bit down, raising this bit up a little. You've done it a bit more here, but that hill feels more manufactured. Again, I'd probably be dropping the front more. As you can see if we're zooming over it, so what we're at, let's see, 7 feet, down to 3, down to 2, then it's rising up again. You'd really expect this bit to be low, or like dead level at this point, and then gradually rising up. I think my main thing with this course, from what I can see so far, is sculpting is just a little harsh. Same with the riverbank. Like I'd be lowering. So we're looking at here. That's, I mean, 2 feet up from where we are, and then it's sinking down to 5 feet down. That's quite harsh and steep. Given the either raise the water up. Like that's your easy fix of bring the water up to about this level, or just soften the sculpting and about this sort of height would be good. I'm also, the rocky edge doesn't quite work for me here. It's mainly because of the texture you've used. Dormant heavy rough going straight into the harsh grey rock, it makes it really stand out. Do you like this sight line? I like your framing here and where you've cut off this side. Tree line's good. The green slopes are interesting. You did these on Revival Club as well. I thought they were really nice. That's not an inaccessible pin, but it's pretty close. Let's just try to lay up anyway. Hopefully over. Oh no, anywhere near the bunkers. Oh, wind has shot up. Might be alright. I like the little punch bowl you put at the back is fun. Yeah, sculpting again here. Like this is all running down as if it's wanting to go down to the water's edge. Just let it, rather than bumping it up where it just looks less natural. I mean, yeah, when you zoom around it, you can really start seeing that the land desperately just wants to go towards the water, and it would work way better as a hazard as well. You'd worry about missing left and bouncing into, like, try not to save that shot, let that happen. Come on, turn back in. Nearly, it tried. Oh, par from the first two shots is absolutely fine. I'm noticing we've got a 7-hole entry. I'm not going to play 7 because I think it's got to be 6. Yeah, sightline could be neater. There's a lot of stuff just in the way. I think sinking this down would help. A lot of this planting or raising the fairway up a little bit. Yeah, similar comments with the edges of water as well, I think. That said, I love the, I mean, we looking, I mean, not road hole, but definitely like road hole elements off the tee, certainly. Come to the green in a minute. I think that should be good. That's a fun tee shot. And I think you've done your angles really nicely off the tee there. Would have liked the fairway to, I don't know, maybe it did. Feels like the fairway kicked my ball left to right, which I'd have rather it didn't do. But yeah, love this planting here, particularly with the lighting. I think you've done a good job with your lighting, that it's changing and it's dynamic. That's working, that's fitting this course really nicely. This pin I'd probably move a little further away from this slope, but I tend to like it in the 9 box being pretty much green. I'd probably put it here. I think you get the same effect and you just get fewer weird putts around the pin. You've also really put a lot of pressure on the tee shot. I think you can allow people an easier shot at the pin when you've done that. That is not a pretty swing path, but the tempo's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with the pin. That is really personal preference. That's your best hole so far by a long way. That's really good. Sculpting's better here because you can see it's all low profile. Like, this makes sense. It's not too high. You're not doing. There's nothing strange with the land going where it's going up and then down. It fits. It looks really good. You've given us a lot of layup zone, so that's nice. I really like the idea with this one for sure, where we're trying to kind of hug as close to this line I think as possible in order to open up our angle to the green. One of the things I will say, it's kind of what I've felt about Revival Club as well. There's a lot of, maybe not so much Revival Club, I think this one could benefit from a more simple green, because those green slopes are just kind of going, they're pretty much going everywhere, whereas I think you've got a really good base idea on this hole of like hug as close to this right hand side as possible, although it's going to be long. I mean, we'll talk about the length in a second, I guess, when we get to the approach and see how long that is. But like, let's say we do hit this perfect tee shot. Like, someone like Joe Golfer G does this really well, where the green just does one simple thing, and it fits perfectly with the rest of the hole. Whereas I think you've got a tee shot, and then we've got an approach shot, and then we've just got a green that's kind of doing all sorts of different things, and like, I think there's a time for a green like this. I don't think this hole is a long par 4 the way it's going to play now is necessarily the time for it. And we'll see what approach we've got. Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the difficulty we've got around this, we've got water long left and right, like, and I mean, and a bunker. This approach shot should not be a 5-wood, and like I know I've hit 3-wood off the tee, but you've pinched tee shot pretty hard. And I guess if you're going to go for something like this could work really nicely. I mean, it did on the last tee shot, and that kind of brings me to my next point of the last tee shot was this road hole where we're covering the inside of the dog leg where it's a really big hazard. We're now kind of doing the same thing and asking the same question of, do you want to cut off as much as this? So, like, how would you make it different? Well, allow people to lay up with a wood, and then just not have absolute death into the green. Because I mean, if I hit this green, I feel like it will be a miracle. And so it would have proved. I just think there's a little too much going on this hole, and it's a shame because I think the core idea is really, really good. I mean, we're also looking at, there's no, I wonder whether this was supposed to be a par 5. I don't, it feels like it really could be. No fairway apron around the green, there's very crowned pin. It's kind of bottling up everything that makes a hole difficult and putting it all on one hole. But like I say, and I love that you put it next to the other green, which I think was not the first. It might have been the first. I do like that you followed it up with a short par 4, drivable. Although width is just a little off. Bring this fairway in and around the bunker. Encourage me. The spline work will be neater around there. I think that'll allow a little bit more shot making. But love the whole idea. It's always a favourite. And green slopes here makes sense. Don't want to be long, which works really well for this hole. I think again, leave a little bit more room short. I typically start my fairway around about here, and I think it would help you visually as well because we can't really see that there's this fairway here. So I think, yeah, that's kind of been a common one. I think sculpting and sightlines would be my things that I would try to work on. Well, we're going to go this way because obviously the shot out of the heavy rough is what we were playing for. Yeah, it stands next to no shot. Go on. Well, that's a mile better than I thought it would do. Love the planting down there. And I really like that we talked about this. Yeah, so these little tree lines you've done really nicely and how they break up. It feels a lot more spacious than... It's enclosed, but each hole sits in its own little environment really nicely. And who knows what that putt's doing. Running away forever. And then 6, which is the final hole we'll play. Nice long par 3, it's good to see, kind of sweeping down. I feel the green is doing a little too much here. I think with this one you're protecting this pin with distance and the fact that you've got water long. Let's not put it on a little tier as well. It's just adding an extra layer of difficulty that you don't really want. A long par 3 you've got to view with the mindset of this hole needs to be really easy, and you're actually saying I have got kind of 4 grid squares to stop it in, which is I would argue is about wedge. Like this is a pin I'd use for a wedge shot rather than a 5-wood again. Look is fantastic, and we're just going to play centre of the green ish. Okay, other side of the green. We'll have a rubbish putt. Yeah, this could be interesting. See where it goes. we've got a bit of an Eden here, haven't we? With some twists. Maybe it works different. Maybe it works a lot better in different winds. Did not commit to the putt. That would do. So there we go. So I'm going to skip out on the final hole. Okay, so this is your kind of standard match play finisher. Alright, so skipping out on that, and then so there we are. Like I said, I think there's lots of things to like here. I think the ideas are really interesting. Sometimes I think you're just doing a little bit too much with the greens, or rather the greens are kind of their own thing, really, which are maybe a little detached from the rest of the hole. Like this hole I loved until we got to the green, and then it's just kind of like we're protecting difficulty, I think, a little bit, protecting par maybe a touch too much. And when you didn't do that, I really liked it. I thought this hole was extremely well done. That was our second, wasn't it? What else? What was the other one? 4, 2 and 3 I think were your two best holes. And there's lots to like here. I thought the planting's really good, environment's great. Some sculpting stuff I'd work on, and I think that will just come with practice. But yeah, hopefully this helps. And like I say, there's a lot. I want to stress there's a lot of good here as well. It's one of those where I just see you're thinking so much about the hole designs, and I kind of feel that there's a lot more feedback I can give when you're clearly thinking about them, because it's not just me suggesting, oh, do some stuff with angles and hazards. You're doing all of that. It's just kind of making it really work in harmony, which I don't think it's always doing here. But this is a lot of fun, and give it a play. Best of luck, and yeah, I hope all goes well for you. See you soon.